In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you can expect to earn as a commercial pilot in the UK. I got a message the other day about a particular aspiring pilot who was deterred from pursuing aviation because his parents told him that he wouldn't be earning enough as a commercial pilot. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you can expect to earn in the UK when you do decide to start your footsteps into the industry. So it can give you a bit of an outline as to what you could potentially earn whilst being a commercial pilot. Now, just to be clear, this is a rough average of what you can expect to earn in the UK. It's not set in stone. This is exactly what it's going to earn because the aviation industry fluctuates and it's a supply and demand kind of thing. So if, for example, we're running out of pilots, which we are, they're going to start increasing the salaries, making it more competitive between each airline. So you can expect that the salary is going to continue to increase. And with inflation, it's always going to increase anyway because pilots need to uphold their standard of living. So again, this is just rough averages at this point in time from my experience and from the people that I know, and how much roughly we are all earning as commercial pilots at the moment. And one important thing to note is that your salary will depend on which airline you work for, the size of the fleet, if it's a really big airline or if it's a small airline with only limited number of aircraft, you could potentially be expecting to earn less. But if it's a major airline with a lot of aircraft and a lot of demand, then you can expect to be earning a lot more. It also depends on the type of aircraft. So if you're flying short haul, smaller aircraft, or if you're just flying around the UK region rather than going international and to other areas of the world, you can expect to earn less. But if, for example, you're flying a wide body aircraft doing long haul flights, you're going to be expecting to earn significantly more. And of course, your level of experience is another factor as to how much you could potentially earn, because inevitably, with more experience, you're going to expect that you're going to earn significantly more, to the point where it could even be exponentially more, depending on where you go and what kind of career path you decide to take. So let's start from the very bottom as to where you would start in your journey to becoming a pilot. Now, ironically, you'd be a cadet, which means actually you'll be paying money rather than receiving money with most airlines. I mean, at the moment, we have fully sponsored programs, which is fantastic. And this is something I was speaking to a captain the other day about, which has never been done for the past 55 years. So it's only been reintroduced now. And it's a great spotlight into the fact that pilot shortages are on the horizon and airlines are really noticing it. So if you're thinking about becoming a pilot, this is the perfect time to enter while airlines are facilitating these cadet programs and fully sponsored pathways. This is an indication to those of you who are considering starting that this is the perfect time to start and you shouldn't waste any time. But let's go back. So a cadet, what can you expect to earn? On average, it's going to be minus £100,000 because obviously you're going to be paying into the training. Now, if you're obviously skilled enough and experienced enough, you're going to get into a cadet program. So in that case, you would potentially be earning money. Certain sponsorships and cadet programs will be paying you a particular allowance whilst you train. But as an average, you'll be at minus £100,000 when you start your career. So from there onwards, you then land a job in an airline and you become what is called a second officer. Now, under the CAA, that's not a specific role as per. So what you actually are is a first officer. But for airlines to taper up your pay grades, they first start you as a second officer. And what an average salary for the second officer looks like is, at most airlines, it's around 50k-ish. It's around that mark at most of the major airlines in the UK. If you go to the lower bracket, you can expect to earn somewhere around 30k when you first start. Now, that doesn't sound great, I know, but that is for those few people that don't necessarily make it to the major airlines, but have to go for the medium-sized airlines. But then if you're one of the very skilled few, you could be on the upper bracket, which is around 60k when you first start in your career as a pilot, which is a fantastic salary to start at, of course. And you won't find a starting salary like that in any other field. So 2 years elapse, and like I mentioned, as you build experience, you'll then inherit the first officer role, and that's an automatic kind of pass over once you've got the required hours for a first officer within your airline. Now, the average salary for a first officer would be anywhere between 60 to 65k. Now that's after 2 years of working. I mean, I don't know any other job roles that will offer you 60 to 65k 2 years after being employed with a particular company. And that's almost a 15k pay jump in terms of the average salary that you'll be earning. Now again, if we go to the lower bracket, if you're in one of the medium-sized airlines, you'd probably be expecting to earn about 40k, which is still about a 10k pay jump, and it's significantly more than most people are earning when they start in a particular field. If we go to the higher end brackets as a first officer, because there are airlines out there in the UK that provide this particular salary, and you could be expected to earn about 80 grand per year if you're at the right airline with earning the right salary. Now that's 80k basic. I've not even included what your flight pay might involve, but you can add on top of all of these figures about £5,000 for flight pay. After 2 years elapse, you'll then inherit the senior first officer role. So that's when you're a little bit more senior in your experience, so they can taper your pay up even more. And that's obviously to encourage people to remain within the airline rather than just jump ship and go somewhere else, because you're obviously going to be more competitive the more experience you have. Now, the average salary for a senior first officer, and this is an average, it's about 78 to 80k in the UK. Now, the lower end of that bracket would be on about £50,000 per year, but the higher end of that bracket can be expected to be on about 86 to 87k, which could bump you to £93,000 a year if you've got flight pay included. And that's just after about 4 years of flying experience under your belt. You're already approaching that six-figure salary. Now we're going to get into the more interesting figures, which are the captain's salaries. And it depends on what airline you're in. This could take 2 years in some airlines, and it could take 10 years in other airlines. So you have to factor that in into your thought process. And that depends on whether it's a major airline or a short-haul airline, and that can all have a factor as to how long it will take. Now, if it's a major airline, what you can expect is your pay to still taper up as you're working towards that captain role. But at a short haul airline, you can just expect a massive pay jump as soon as you're qualified to be a captain. Now, a captain's average salary in the UK would be anywhere between about 120 to 150,000 pounds, and that's a pretty substantial amount of money if you actually break it down. On the lower end of that, obviously, if you're at a smaller airline, you could probably expect to be at about 98 to 100k, which is still a very significant amount of money, of course. And this is just for a line captain, so that you're not doing any training, not doing any managerial roles. You're literally just doing your job as a captain every day, day-to-day operations. And you could be on about 170k if you're at particular airlines. Again, it depends if you're a wide body captain, so a long haul captain, or if you're a short haul captain. It can all range dependent on that. If you are a long haul captain, you could probably expect to even earn potentially more than that, and a short haul captain probably around that figure. But again, being a short haul captain will take you way less time. Being a long haul captain will take you significantly longer. So again, the more experience you have, the earning potential is pretty much exponential. So if you can get in as soon as physically possible, then your earning potential in the long run will be much more. So don't waste any time. Get started as soon as you physically can. Now, 1 or 2 years may elapse, and then you decide you want to earn a little bit more or do something extra within the role, because a lot of the time people can get used to the role and decide they want a little bit more interest in their job role. So what they go into is potentially line training, which means training cadets. So you're at the end of your kind of career, and you're going to be training people at the start of their career to start working towards being line trained first officers or second officers. So if you go into a line training role, you can probably expect to be anywhere between 170 to 200k and there upwards. And it depends on the airline. So if you're at a long haul airline and you're a training captain, you could be expected to earn pretty much anything over £200,000 a year. And again, if you're in a managerial role, you can expect a similar kind of pay bracket where it goes up pretty much exponentially as the more experience that you have. Now, I want to be clear, this is all very rough averages of how much you can potentially expect to earn in the UK. If I was to go into the Middle East and the Far East, like China and Hong Kong, or even Australia and the US, you could expect to earn even more. So this is just a rough average of the UK as an individual country. The world is essentially open to you the more experience you have. So you could go over to the Middle East and earn potentially double what you could in the UK. Now again, the earning potential for a pilot increases with your experience. So the first steps that you need to take is get into the industry. And if you also think about it over the span of a lifetime, if you can get in early, then you're going to be earning a net total of way more in the long run because you've started sooner rather than later, and that is a credit to yourself. Valuing your time over your short-term money is more important, in my opinion. Even having spoken about all of this financial side of things, I am not a pilot because of the financial aspect of things. The finances is a great incentive as to why you would invest in your career from the startup, but to the same degree, when you actually think about what you do as a pilot, the job is unlike anything you can ever imagine. I know people close to me who do medicine, and at the end of their degree, after 5 years of intensive study, they're earning about £30,000, which is on the lower end of that second officer bracket. In the grand scheme of things, if you think about it, you're doing 18 months of training, and at the end of it, you're earning probably one of the best salaries that you could in the UK. Now for me, I'm in my mid-20s, and I'm actually earning in the top 5% of people in the UK for my age bracket. Again, the importance here is to get in as soon as physically possible. Even if you're in your 30s, 40s, you've still got ample time to get to a really high paying salary. And like I mentioned, I've outlined here, it could take you about 6 to 7 years to become a captain, and then you're on six figures thereafter. And it's just exponential increase the more experience you have. You also have a maximum amount of duty hours you can do in a particular window of time. These things are all beneficial towards your work-life balance, which you actually don't get in any other field if you really, really think about it. As a doctor, you could be working from 8 a.m. till midnight and then come in the next day at 8 a.m. again and work from 8 a.m. to midnight. You could be doing these extensively long shifts, whereas for a pilot, this is absolutely impossible. We have to have an allocated minimum amount of rest time, only a certain number of duty days we can actually do in a certain period. We're in a massively beneficial role in terms of how much we earn in comparison to our work-life balance, because most professionals with a similar pay bracket will be working round the clock in order to earn that particular amount of money. So for us, we're in a really blessed position where we're earning very good money and not necessarily working as much as people out there. Now, that's not to say that our job is easy. Of course, we have a difficult job and there's a lot of responsibility for us. We have to be well rested, and even on our days off, we also have to be conscious that we are professionals and we're going to have to go into work maybe the next day, and we have to be responsible with what we do in our time off. And we also have to uphold our medical, remain fit. We're commercial pilots and we are professionals, and that is still an element of our life outside of work. But to the same degree, the amount that I have to think about work outside of flying, I literally don't have to. I'm talking to you guys right now where I can explain to you the salary of a pilot without having to worry about which aircraft is taking off now or what is happening at my airport right now. I can tackle that when I go into work. I don't have to worry about that right now. Whereas a lot of high earners do have to think about these things outside of work. I get to enjoy my time off. And on top of that, with being a pilot, you're not tied down to a particular location or place. Like I mentioned, you could go anywhere in the world if you really wanted to. With accumulated experience, you open up so many doors to yourself. With more experience, I could, if I wanted to, go over to the Middle East, or I could, if I want to, start flying wide-body aircraft. You know, all of these doors start opening for you the more experience you get, so the importance is getting in there early. Now, that being said, if you're serious about becoming a pilot and you do want to get there as quickly as physically possible, just go into the description, click on my Instagram, send me a DM, and then we can start working together towards getting you into the industry as soon as physically possible. I'll also even attach a link to just book a call, so it's even quicker for you. So just go onto that link, book a call, and then we'll have a discussion and see whether we're a good fit to work together towards getting you into the industry as physically fast as possible so that you can start earning those six-figure salaries as soon as physically possible. Now, that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you some insight as to what you could potentially earn as a pilot, how fast you could pay off any particular loans that you might have, and it's given you some kind of clarity on the salary world, because there is a lot of kind of mist and confusion when it comes to that stuff. If you could do me a massive favor, just like this video in return for my information that I've given to you. Subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll continue to upload more and more videos with better quality. That's my promise to you, if you could just do those two simple things for me. Thank you very much, and I'll hopefully see you very soon.